Hello， 大家好，我是轰酷，欢迎收看轰酷看篮球，跟你最及时具体的篮球解析。我们都知道 P.League+ 季后赛要到了嘛，这边我特别邀请到梦想家的前总教练，也是我的好朋友 Julius 来陪大家一起分析这次的季后赛哦。相信要比专业，没有人会比他更专业了啊，是不是 ？So Coach, welcome to my show again. Today we are going to talk some topics about football in the Kings. I'm sure that my fans is really looking forward to hear your thoughts on these two teams, right? So, are you ready for this?
I'm ready, man. Good to see you. Good to be back speaking with people from Taiwan. I miss Taiwan and I miss all my friends in Taiwan. And I've been trying to watch as much P.League basketball, as I can. Sometimes it's difficult with the time change over here and stuff. But yeah, excited to be talking with you again.
I think all my fans and my audience really missed you, I think. So, alright, let's get this started. Let's talk about Fubon first. If you have to choose a key player for Fubon in the playoffs, who would you choose?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think what makes Fubon good, Hangku, is that they don't really just rely on one player. I think they're really well coached. They do a really good job of preparing for teams and scouting. So when it comes to the playoffs, I think they do a really good job of balancing their scoring. When it comes to Jet, I think Jet's he's confident. Jet always has big games when the games are really important. Beast as well, very similar mentality. Really smart, really confident in himself, has the ability to take over a game. And then I think also too, if you look at Fubon, I don't know what the actual stats are, but they very rarely lose without Singletary, right? So I think Singletary is always the X factor. They can win with Chris Johnson and Singletary. They can win with Zaitsev and Singletary, but it seems like they struggle without Singletary. So for me, Jet, Beast, Singletary, extremely important players for them.
Move on to the next question. What do you think is Fubon's current weakness? If you are going to face Fubon in the playoffs, which point would you attack them?
Yeah, we always had a lot of success against Fubon, playing fast, playing small, playing guys like Doug and Kenny at the 4, and really spacing them out because Fubon's not great one-on-one defensively. They're a very good team defensive team, but one-on-one. Some of their players are a little bit older, and they're not that fast as athletes, right? So I think they really struggled against Kaohsiung. And Kaohsiung plays small right now, right? When they play the Indian kid, I don't know his name. All of a sudden I forget his name. Sorry. Yeah. When they play him, and then they have Jeremy Lin, and then they have all their shooters around, and then Femi can shoot the 3. I think Fubon struggles against smaller lineups. They want to switch a lot. Switching against bigger teams with Fubon is good because Fubon's big. But in general, if you play small and fast against Fubon, you'll have a good chance. They also run the floor really well. So if you want to run against Fubon, you got to be ready to run. And the bad part about playing against Fubon is if you don't shoot a decent percentage, they'll run on you and they'll punish you.
Wow, I think that's a very professional answer. Fans will mind-blowing in this episode. Okay, this question is a little bit tricky. Many people say that Fubon is training in regular season and only start to play very seriously in the playoffs. I know you faced Fubon in the playoffs so many times. They are your own opinion. So what do you think of the difference between Fubon's regular season and the playoffs? What's the difference?
Yeah, I think the difference is like you described. I think they're older, they're smarter players. I think their coach is very experienced in Taiwan specifically. He knows every player in Taiwan. He knows the styles of every player. He knows their high school teams. He knows their college teams. When you really understand your environment coaching, I think you can understand how to prepare for different points of the season. And I do. I think Fubon does a good job of setting themselves up for the playoffs. They're smart. They know when to rest. But Fubon can do that because they have such a deep roster of players. They have so many good players that they can do that. I don't think we could ever do that with the Dreamers. When I was coaching, we didn't have enough, great players to just, pick and choose our times during the season. And I don't think most of the league can do that either. I think the Kings can do that because of Quincy Davis. I think with Quincy Davis, the Kings have the greatest advantage of any team in the P.League, no matter what. And I think because of that advantage, those players also understand that. But really, it's just the Kings and Fubon who can really do that. But yeah, I do agree with you. I do think, and I agree with the fans. I do think Fubon, as the games get more important, then they become more serious. I do believe that.
Okay, so I think enough questions for Fubon. Let's talk about another good team, which is the New Taipei Kings. They are like the number one team in Plus League this year. So coach, when people talks about the New Taipei Kings, there's an interested nickname of Amigo, which is Jingming. People on the internet would joke about that Amigo always gets foul call, acting stuff. What do you think about this?
I don't know. It's hard to say if there's special treatment, but he does flop so often, right? I've never seen a player flop as much as Amigo. He's a very good player, but he flops so much. And I think what happens is when you have really good players that flop like that, it just makes it hard for the referees. After a while, they can't tell if it was a foul or not. After a while, he does it so often. And I think what makes the Kings really interesting is they are the one team, that constantly says that they don't make excuses. But that team flops more than any team I've ever seen in my life. And that team argues with the referees forever. It's funny to watch because it's so crazy. Like, for example, if he was playing in Canada, in FIBA and in Canada, especially the flopping is a technical foul right away. And that's why it was always hard for me in Taiwan.
Yeah, but I mean, Amigo is kind of like the oldest guy in the league, so he knows referees very well, and
Yeah, exactly. He's earned, and part of that, Hunku, he earned the respect, right?
Yeah.
He's a very good basketball player. He's been a great player his whole career. He makes big shots. He's confident. He did it for me many times when he played for the Dreamers too. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for Amigo, and I told our players in the locker room the reason he gets those calls is because he does have a reputation. He has earned it, right?
Yeah, let's move on to the next question. If you are going to prepare to face the Kings in the playoffs, what would you ask your player to pay attention to?
Yeah, we had a lot of success against the Kings because we would just outplay them. I think if you outwork the Kings, if your game plan is to come in and just play harder than them, win the loose ball battle, win the rebounding battle, they get frustrated. Byron Mullins is a great player, but he gets frustrated quickly. He gets really, really frustrated. And when he's frustrated, he starts taking all kinds of quick, crazy shots, fadeaways, early shots. So I think that's the number one key to the Kings is to outwork them. They'll complain about the referees and the media, the different things like this. What they're focused on. The next thing is you want to make Kenny Manigault shoot threes. I think if Kenny Manigault is driving to the rim, if he's getting to the rim, he's effective. He's not a good three-point shooter, but he's a very good finisher at the rim. So I think those two keys right there are really important. Then the next thing is you want to put, when Quincy Davis plays, you want to put Quincy Davis in a lot of pick and rolls, and you want to attack Quincy Davis in pick and rolls, right? He's really good defender around the rim, but he's not a great defender, out on the perimeter. So I think if you can attack him in a lot of pick and rolls, similar game plan to, beating Fubon, to be honest, space them out, attack them off the dribble, get into the paint against them and make good decisions. They don't like ball pressure. The Kings don't like ball pressure. If you pick the Kings up full court all game, but no one in the P.League picks up full court anymore. I think I was doing it with the Dreamers as much as possible, but now no one does it. But if you really want to prepare for the Kings, and you have the ability to pick up full court and really guard aggressively full court, I think they don't like that. But again, look, they're the number one team in the league for a reason, right? They have good players. They make big shots. They have confident players. But if you can frustrate those guys with good physical defense, and if you can play fast and keep the floor spaced, attack Quincy Davis and pick and rolls, I think they're very beatable for sure.
All right. So this boring question again, but I got to ask: if you had to choose a key player for Kings in the playoffs, who would you choose? Amigo, Joseph, or Quincy Davis, or somebody else?
Yeah. So I think I would choose Byron Mullins. For me, when Byron Mullins is locked in, when he's focused, when he's aggressive, he's the second best player. Jeremy Lin right now for me is the best player. He's amazing on so many levels. But for the Kings to be successful, I think what happens when Byron Mullins plays well, I think you see a focus in Amigo, you see a focus in Kenny Manigault. The game becomes easier for Joseph Lin, right? Because he can play and pick and roll with Byron Mullins. So yeah, I think for me, Byron Mullins is the most important player.
Okay, so you think he can dominate the P.League playoffs? I mean,
he does. When he's healthy and when he's focused and when he's not arguing with the referees, he does dominate. In my opinion, he should. But it's a matter of his focus and somebody making sure that he's focused. But yeah, I think he could be a big time X factor for sure.
Okay, so finally, it's the last question of this show. Who is your championship of this year's Plus League champion?
I'm gonna tell you right now, I love the Dreamers. So if the Dreamers are there, I'm gonna always cheer for the Dreamers and root for the Dreamers. That's the first part of my answer. But I'll tell you what, Kaohsiung's in the playoffs, Hongku. They're gonna be special. I don't know who has anyone to stop Jeremy Lin. He makes everyone better, Hongku. He makes big shots. Those guys are playing at a high level. I really believe that if they get in the playoffs, it's going to be trouble for the rest of the P-League. I really believe that. But I love my Dreamers. If the Dreamers make it, I'll be cheering for the Dreamers. I think the Dreamers have a roster too. I think they have a special roster. I think they have a player in Brandon who bothers people. If Kenny's locked in, if Achi's locked in making shots, if Jeff Wu's making shots, the Dreamers are right now. It's all about making shots for the Dreamers, right? But if Kaohsiung makes the playoffs, you better watch out.
Wow. So not the Kings, not Fuban's. Kaohsiung. Wow.
If Kaohsiung makes the playoffs, you better watch out. That's my word. That's what it's right now. Obviously, they're not in the playoffs yet. We don't know what's going to happen. But if Kaohsiung makes the playoffs, you better watch out. But I love my Dreamers. I hope my Dreamers make it, and I'll be rooting for the Dreamers for sure.
Wow. All right. I think that's it for today. It's enough. I think my mind is blowing. So thanks for coming to my show again. And
hey, my pleasure. Anytime, Hongku. I miss everybody in Taiwan, man. I hope everybody's doing well and everybody's enjoying the P-League basketball.
Yeah. So thank you, Coach. Thanks again. So
okay, buddy.
如果大家喜欢我的影片，请记得按赞、订阅、分享。然后红开篮球，我们下次再见喽，拜拜。